What is up everyone, Hero276 here, and welcome to today's video, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't know, Pokemon can either have one or two types, and those that have two types are called dual types. There are many Pokemon that have repeat dual types, such as Ground and Steel. You see Galarian, Stunfisk, and Excadrill sharing that typing. So we pair three Pokemon, all of them with the same dual type, on the same team. As you can tell, it's not a very good strategy, and I don't recommend it. I sacrificed nearly 150 points of ELO trying to come up with teams. But it was well worth it, because I've compiled 7 unique triple dual themed teams for you guys to watch. That said, before we jump into the teams, if you are enjoying the music used in this video and other videos, I highly encourage you to check out my Spotify page where you'll have access to all of my music. You can either follow the page there or buy my albums there for just $4.99 each. It's a really good way to support the channel if you're looking for other ways to support it, which I would really appreciate if you do. That being said, let's jump right into today's video. Alright, and the first team that we're starting off with is the Triple Dark and Poison. Starting off with a lead against basically one of the only core breakers, which is Swampert. This is obviously very terrible. The whole team takes super effective damage from ground attacks, so they could just safely go Earthquake, but my opponent actually decides to shield up the Crunch, and I'm okay with this. I'm just going to let the Skuntank go down. Swampert goes for a Hydro Cannon. I tank it, reach the Crunch, and that looks like a CMP tie. If that's a CMP tie, that's best case scenario for me. We grab the second shield, and it's a CMP tie. That's absolutely perfect. I couldn't be any happier. Now we can bring in the Shadow Drapion. We're not quite able to reach the Crunch in time, but this does give us the opportunity to shield a potential Earthquake and overfarm a little bit. My opponent tries to catch the Crunch onto Umbreon. I'm able to hold on to my energy, fire off a Sludge Bomb. It's able to connect, and it actually does some very nice damage. Shadow Drapion hits considerably harder than the regular, and it can also tank a Last Resort from this range. So once they get to the move, which they do, I'm actually just going to let this go. I'm going to save my shield for whatever is in the back, but my opponent baits with a Foul Play, and I'm able to save the Sludge Bomb, and make a nice catch, catching the Foul Play onto Hisuian Qwilfish. I'm now going to commit for the full farm down. My opponent will reach one Foul Play, but as you're going to see, this is not going to do a lot of damage. Hisuian Qwilfish is able to tank the Foul Play. They pivot into Swampert, but I'm able to make it to a Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse will KO the Swampert. And in the back, they have Skarmory. And now on paper, this is a little scary since this is a triple poison team. But Dark Pulse is going to hurt here. It's going to do over half of Skarmory's health. And I still have the move banked on Drapion. So even if Skarmory reaches a move, I am able to get to the Crunch. Crunch here takes out the Skarmory, and it's just that Umbreon, my opponent, surrenders, and that is game, set, and match. Moving on now to the triple normal and flying team and picking up a lead up against Gliscor. This isn't too bad because their nuke move is going to be resisted, and we can take at least one Night Slash. Night Slash here is going to get us into the red. I pivot into Noctowl. Noctowl here can definitely sponge moves a lot better than Staraptor can, so I am going to bank the move on Staraptor, come in with Noctowl, and fire off a Sky Attack. Sky Attack here will do some solid damage, but my opponent decides to shield it up. Gliscor reaches another Night Slash, but at this point, I can tank it. I'm not investing any shields in Noctowl. Noctowl is basically my meat shield on this team. I'm going to go for the Sky Attack. Sky Attack here grabs the second shield, and I believe my opponent also got a boost as well, so I send in Pidgeot, they bring in Ferrothorn, and now I'm going to go for a Feather Dance. This is a bit of a misplay, but I figured an attack debuff would be more valuable. This way they don't throw their energy, and I come in with the Staraptor, successfully sniping with the Brave Bird. Meant to go for close combat, but I forgot which side it was on. Brave Bird still KOs. In comes Pidgeot into the Gliscor. My opponent fires off a Night Slash, and I will commit the final shield here. I wing attack down. My opponent has Sableye in the back. No messing around here. This time I make the correct play. Go for the Brave Bird. Brave Bird almost KOs. They have to reach 2 foul plays to win, but I'm able to wing attack down first and take the win. Hopping into the next game, and we have the triple water and ice theme team, leading directly into Medicham, which is definitely a core breaker. Needless to say that behind the screen, I was pretty pissed off that I was leading into this, but Walrein actually can fight back. Icicle Spear does some solid damage, and my opponent actually throws here. This is a CMP tie, and this means I'm going to be able to waste their energy. Opponent commits the shield, and at this point, I can safely let whatever move this is go through. It's an Ice Punch. That does not do a lot of damage, but Medicham does get in a nice farm down. I bring in Dewgong, and the main reason why I'm running Dewgong is look at how bulky this thing is. Psychic doesn't even get it into the yellow. Dewgong is very tanky. Now I'm going to go for the Icy Wind because counters are starting to get me low. I'd like to preserve some health, but my opponent actually shields it up and then pivots into a Mandibuzz. Maybe they're weak to water and ice in the back. Dewgong wins CMP over the Mandibuzz. That's a very rare sentence. Icy Wind gets Dewgong into the yellow and debuffs its attack by 1 stage. This foul play actually does not KO, so I'm going to pivot into Shadow Cloyster. Shadow Cloyster looking for the farm down. Looks like we're going to have to commit a shield because I do want to preserve some health on this thing if at all possible. Opponent trying to build up to the next move. Cloyster gets the farm down, and in the back, they have Registeel, but I blind throw the Avalanche thinking the Medicham would come back in. Unfortunately, I waste quite a bit of energy. Opponent tries to make a catch onto Medicham, but I'm able to hold on to my energy. I shield up the Psychic, and I should be able to farm it down, reach the Hydro Pump for the Registeel. This will do some insane damage to the Registeel. And just for fun, shiny rank 1 Dewgong snipes with a nice shard to take the win. Moving next into the triple water and flying team, picking up a lead up against Obstagoon. And my opponent is staying in this matchup where the counters are resisted, so perhaps they're weak to water and flying somewhere in the back. Gonna let the move go through on Gyarados. It does not KO, and I'm gonna blind throw the Outrage. Outrage here wins CMP, so this is good for me. Opponent commits the shield. At this point, since switch advantage doesn't really matter to me, I'm perfectly content with letting the Gyarados go down. Opponent throws the Night Slash. Pelipper comes in, and we do win CMP over the Obstagoon on the first Weather Ball, so I am going to throw it. My opponent commits the second shield. They are definitely weak to water flying somewhere in the back, so I'm going to shield up the Pelipper and commit to a full wing attack down, but my opponent actually sends in their Toxapex, and this is okay here. Toxapex will be able to reach the Sludge Wave, but my plan is to catch it on Mantine, where it will do less damage. Hurricane does some solid damage, and I make the successful catch. Opponent throws the Sludge Wave, but I will shield it up just because I will be able to reach a Bubble Beam to debuff them. I know that they're going to be able to reach another Sludge Wave, but I'd rather take it where it will do less damage than take it on the first one where it will do more damage. That way I can get a productive use out of my shield. Mantine is going to absorb this Sludge Wave quite nicely, and now we're going to be able to fully wing attack down, but not before my opponent sends in a Trevenant. Ice Beam is going to do some huge damage here, nearly taking out the Trevenant. They don't make it to the move. Obstagoon comes back in, but I'm going to make a catch of the Night Slash onto Pelipper, where it will not be enough to KO. I should be able to wing attack down from this range and leave with the move. We do leave with the Weather Ball. Opponent sends back in the Toxapex, but Weather Ball will be lethal from here, so it will KO and give us the win. For our next battle, we will be running a triple bug and poison theme team, leading Beedrill into Medicham. For once, we actually get somewhat of a positive lead. The only thing we really need to watch out for is Psychic, but the counters here are double resisted. Ice Punch will in turn not do a lot of damage, and neither will Power Up Punch. Opponent shields up the Drill Run, so I'm going to pivot into Ariados. I'm going to shield up here what is the potential Psychic. This is the Psychic, so that's a good shield on my part. Going now for the Lunge. Lunge is going to do some nice damage on a Medicham, but they commit the second shield. Perhaps they're weak in the back. They send in Toxapex, but honestly, despite what it might appear on paper, Ariados can really fight back here with all of these debuffs. Toxapex, already not the hardest hitting Pokemon out there, but with these attack debuffs, it's going to basically deal no damage to this Ariados. And now that our switch clocks are misaligned, I should be able to store Lunge for later, which is probably going to be my strategy. Opponent goes for the Sludge Wave where it is resisted, but I bring in Beedrill, and now they're locked in here. I should be able to body whatever they throw. It's the Brine. It does not do a lot of damage, and they let me make it to a Drill Run. Drill Run here is going to take out the Toxapex. My opponent is waiting out their clock. they eventually come back in with the Medicham. Medicham is going to throw their energy, but I'm going to call the bait here. They're running Power Up Punch. That does no damage. Opponent sends in Ferrothorn, and I'm going to throw the X-Scissor. X-Scissor is going to do some nice chip damage onto this Ferrothorn. I'm going to bank a move for later and attempt to catch onto Scolipede. I do make the catch. What move is it? It's the Power Whip. That's double resisted. Opponent is farming up a ton of energy, but so am I. I make it to the Megahorn. Megahorn, though it's neutral to the bulky Ferrothorn, will take it out from this range. Opponent just has Medicham left, but I can safely let this move go through because I have stored energy on both Beedrill and Ariados. I decide to bestow the honors to the Spider, reaching the Cross Poison. This will take out the Medicham and give us the win. Next up, we have the Triple Ground and Steel theme team leading into Dewgong. Steelix doesn't have access to the super effective Rock Slide, but I switch into Galarian Stunfisk, where it does have access to Rock Slide. Going for the Rock Slide. Rock Slide does some solid damage on the Dewgong, and I'm surprised they let it go through. By this indication, I should have realized that they're going straight for Water Pulse here. However, I make the call of an Icy Wind. Now we're going to go for the Earthquake because this will do more raw damage. Stab Earthquake does 144 damage, super effective Rock Slide does 120. So I decide to go for the Earthquake, they commit the shield, but I'm able to make it to a last second Rock Slide. This will grab the final shield, and now we have a 2-0 shield advantage for Excadrill in the back. But I'm actually going to bring in the Steelix here, because Steelix is quite bulky and can definitely sponge a couple of moves. My opponent goes for the Icy Wind. My opponent will be able to reach a second, and at this point, I'm just going to stay in here. I'm going to absorb all of this energy that I can. I'm not going to throw my energy. Hopefully the Dragon Tails are enough. They are. And my opponent has Pidgeot in the back. I immediately pivot into Excadrill. Rock Slide is going to do some tremendous damage to this Pidgeot, especially when shields are down. Opponent has Air Slash on this Pidgeot, so they're charging a little bit slower than I imagined, but they're still able to make it to what appears to be a Brave Bird. They bait with a Feather Dance, but Excadrill can overfarm here. Go for another Rock Slide. Rock Slide will KO this Pidgeot. Opponent has Lantern in the back, and because Excadrill has shield advantage, this game is over. Drill Run does half of Lantern's health. My opponent surrenders, and that is game, set, and match. We'll finally wrap things up with a triple Mudboy theme team. Quagsire leading into Azumarill. I don't really have a good response to Azumarill, especially because I'm not running Sludge Bomb on my Quagsire. I'm going to go now for the Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb is going to do some solid damage onto Azumarill, and Whiscash is bulky enough where it can easily tank at least one Ice Beam. Ice Beam doesn't do a ton of damage onto Whiscash, and it looks like from this range we'll be able to tank a second. Going for the next Mud Bomb here. Mud Bomb doesn't quite get Azumarill into the yellow, but the next few Mud Shots will. I'm able to win CMP on the next Mud Bomb. This will do some solid damage to Azumarill, and Ice Beam will not KO from here. Like I said, with these triple theme teams, switch advantage doesn't really matter to me, so I'm actually going to let the Whiscash go, and I'll be able to make it to another Mud Bomb. Mud Bomb here will do some solid damage onto Azumarill, but my opponent actually gives up a shield, and this is very okay for me. Now I bring in Quagsire. Quagsire is bulkier than Swampert, and I just wanted to use it as a damage sponge. Play Rough comes through, but it doesn't do a ton of damage as you can see. I'm going to go immediately for the Stone Edge, not risking the overfarm here. Stone Edge takes out Azumarill. My opponent waits their clock. They send in a feint attack Umbreon. Quagsire should be able to outpace here to the Earthquake. Earthquake is going to do some solid damage onto Umbreon, getting it basically into the half health. Opponent decides to throw their energy, but I'm going to trust in two shielded Swampert. Swampert going to farm up a ton of energy, and I'm going to throw the Earthquake, but not before they reach a foul play first. But this is good. This allows me to overfarm in this matchup and exit with some residual energy. Now I'm going to go for the Earthquake. Earthquake will KO from this range if they decide to let it go through, which they do. It's Medicham in the back. Maybe this is possible. I'm at the very least able to make it to a Hydro Cannon for some chip damage, but I now need to make 2 Hydro Cannons to win the game before they make it to 2 Ice Punches. Ice Punch is going to get my shield. I need to make it to 2 Hydro Cannons before they make it to 2 Ice Punches. We have the back-to-back, and even if the next one is a CMP tie, so long as we don't lag out, which we don't, this will win CMP over the Medicham. We reach the Hydro Cannon to take them out and give us the win. As mentioned at the start of the video, I lost a ton of elo trying to pull off this team for you guys, so if you appreciate the teams and you appreciate the effort, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and more importantly, subscribe to the channel as it would help me out a huge bunch. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.